Okay, so here are two questions from your section 8.1 of your algebra chapter grade 9 math links. And this is just a warm-up question, two questions that are kind of, not overly complicated, but not too bad. If I was to give you an easier question instead of this one, I was to say 2x equals, and I was going to go 3 plus 5. If I said this question here, the black question and the red question are identical in format, but not in numbers. So the way we would solve this one is say, well, hold on, 2x is equal to, instead of saying 3 plus 5, it's much easier to say 8 than 3 plus 5. And then what I would do to solve it is simply divide both sides by the coefficient and get x equals 4. Well, the good news is, since that question is so easy, it's the exact same operations as the red question, except I would just have to simplify using fractions, which is slightly more complex. So I'm going to put negative 1 3/5 x is equal to, I'm going to add these together because I'm going to use my grade 7 skills, my math skills, 11 tenths. And I could change that to 1 1/10 if I wanted, but I'm going to leave it improper because 99% of the time when I'm dealing with fraction operations, especially ones with mixed fractions, my first step is always to change them to improper anyway. So we're going to leave it as 11 tenths right now. The next thing I'm going to do is I know I'm going to divide both sides by the coefficient because right here in the black equation I divided both sides by 2 to get rid of the coefficient. So here I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1 3/5. And I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. And over here I'm going to divide this side by negative 1 3/5. And I should be able to get the answer for x. X should be now isolated. So when we do division of mixed fractions, we know that the easiest thing to do is to change the multiplication by the reciprocal. And the reciprocal of 1 3/5, well, I don't know what it is because I don't know what reciprocal of mixed fractions are. But I know since this is negative 8/5, the reciprocal will be the flip or the reverse of the numerator and denominator of that improper fraction. So it's going to be negative 5/8, which is the flip. So the reciprocal of negative 1 3/5 is negative 5/8. And now that we have that, you can simply multiply the numerators to get negative 55 over 80. Or if you reduce it by a factor of 5, you would have that, in which case, when you multiply it out, you will have x equals negative 11 over 16, which is your final answer. Now our second question is an exact similar variation of the previous question, except instead of having fractions as coefficients and values, we have decimals. But of course, we all know from our experience that decimals and fractions are the same thing. They're designed to represent parts of numbers. Decimals are much easier to work with because we usually can just use calculators to get the answer. So again, if I had an easier question of negative 2x equals negative 3 plus, let's do 7, this black question and the red question are identical, except the black question has easier numbers to work with. I would simply create this to be negative 2x equals 4. Then I would divide both sides by negative 2 and get my answer of x equals 4 divided by negative 2, which is negative 2. So the same process we would use for an easier question is what we're going to use for the more difficult question. I'm going to keep my coefficient of negative 0.2x, and I'm going to add these two together. Now, of course, this is a grade 9 question because in chapter 2 on rational numbers, we learned how to add positive and negative decimal numbers. Now, if you don't like using it in your head, I owe $1.30 and I have $4.50. That would be $3.20. So the answer is going to be 3.2 positives. But if you don't like that, of course, just grab your calculator. I'll bring it down here and put 1.3, change it to negative. Add that to 4.5, and you get 3.2. So when I simplify that other side there, I get this expression, or this equation. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 0.2. And actually, if I think about this, I could probably do this question right here without a calculator. And remember how we did it yesterday. We said, you have this much money, so you have $3.20, divided into piles of 20 cents. And we're not going to say negative 20 cents because I know my answer is going to be negative because a positive divided by negative. So if I have $3.20 or $3.2 and I divide it into piles of 20 cents, I can make 5 piles with $1. I can make 15 piles with $3, and I can make one more pile of the extra. So my answer is going to be negative 16. And that's just using my understanding of what division of decimals means in the context of money. And if you grab your calculator and say, what is 3.2 divided into 0.2, the answer is still 16. So your answer is negative 16.